Billionaire sees a lonely waitress crying at his wife's grave. What happens next changes everything. What if a moment of unexpected kindness between strangers could heal two broken hearts and change the course of two lives forever? The autumn rain fell softly on the marble headstone as 42-year-old billionaire Michael Chen knelt beside his wife's grave, his expensive suit soaked through but his grief deeper than any physical discomfort. He'd come here every Tuesday for 8 months now, ever since the cancer took away the only woman he'd ever loved. The cemetery was usually empty at this hour, which was exactly how he preferred it. But today, something was different. A few rows over, he could hear quiet sobbing that seemed to echo his own pain. Through the misty rain, he saw a young woman in a simple waitress uniform, her shoulders shaking as she knelt beside another grave. Her auburn hair was plastered to her face, and in her hands, she clutched a small teddy bear. Something about her raw grief called to him in a way he couldn't explain. Where are you watching from as we begin this story of unexpected connection? Michael had built his technology empire from nothing, but success felt hollow now. His days blurred together in boardrooms and empty mansions, surrounded by people who wanted something from him but no one who truly knew him. Elena, his wife of 15 years, had been his anchor, his reminder that life was about more than profit margins and stock prices. She'd insisted they remain humble despite their wealth, often volunteering at local shelters and treating everyone with the same warmth, whether they were CEOs or janitors. The crying woman looked to be in her late 30s, with kind eyes reddened by tears. Her name tag read Lily, and her uniform suggested she worked at one of the diners downtown. She seemed completely unaware of his presence as she carefully arranged fresh daisies around the headstone. "I got the promotion, Mom," she whispered to the grave. "Assistant manager, just like you always said I could. I wish you were here to see it." Michael's heart clenched. He recognized that particular ache of wanting to share good news with someone who was no longer there. He'd gotten that same feeling last month when his company's charitable foundation had won a humanitarian award, something Elena would have been so proud of. The rain continued to fall, and he noticed Lily didn't have an umbrella. Her thin jacket offered little protection against the October chill. He found himself walking toward her before he'd consciously decided to move. As a naturally private person, approaching strangers wasn't his way, but something about this moment felt different. Maybe it was the shared grief, or maybe it was something Elena would have done. She'd never let someone suffer alone if she could help it. "Excuse me," he said gently, extending his large black umbrella over both her and the grave. "You'll catch pneumonia out here." Lily looked up, startled. Her face was streaked with tears and rain, but her eyes held a depth that spoke of someone who'd known real loss. "Oh, I'm sorry," she said, starting to move away. "I didn't realize anyone else was here." "Please don't go," Michael said, surprising himself with how much he meant it. "We're both here for the same reason." They stood in comfortable silence for several minutes, two grieving souls sharing an umbrella over their respective sorrows. Lily finally spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "She died 6 months ago. Stroke. One day we were planning her retirement, and the next." She trailed off, unable to finish the sentence. "Cancer," Michael replied simply. 8 months for me. The doctors said we caught it early, that she had every chance. We bought a house in Tuscany for after her treatment. She never got to see it." Lily glanced at his expensive suit and watch, then at her own modest appearance. "I should probably go. I don't want to intrude on your time here." "You're not intruding," Michael said, and meant it. For the first time in months, he didn't feel quite so alone with his grief. "What was she like?" A small smile crossed Lily's face. "Stubborn as a mule and twice as smart. She raised me by herself after Dad left when I was 12. Worked 3 jobs to put me through high school, always saying education was the one thing nobody could take away from me. She never complained, not once, even when the bills piled up or the car broke down again." Her voice cracked. "I keep thinking about all the times I was too busy or too tired to call her back right away." Michael nodded, understanding that particular regret intimately. "Elena used to leave me these little notes in my briefcase. reminders to eat lunch, or just saying she loved me. I was always rushing off to meetings, promising we'd talk properly later. I still find them sometimes, tucked in books or coat pockets. It's like getting mail from heaven. The rain had softened to a gentle mist, but neither of them moved to leave. There was something healing about standing here with someone who understood the weight of loss, someone who didn't try to offer empty platitudes about time healing all wounds or everything happening for a reason. I work at Murphy's Diner on 5th Street, Lily said suddenly. 12-hour shifts, 6 days a week. Mom always said I was capable of more, but I never believed her. Yesterday, I finally got promoted to assistant manager. It's not much, but it's a start. If this moment touched your heart, please give the video a thumbs up. Michael felt a spark of something he hadn't experienced since Elena's death, genuine interest in another person's happiness. But as he looked at Lily's worn shoes and the carefully saved daisies, he realized her grief was complicated by struggles his wealth had never forced him to face. Over the following weeks, Michael found himself visiting the cemetery more often, hoping to encounter Lily again. When he finally did, 3 weeks later, she looked exhausted. The promotion had meant longer hours and more responsibility, but barely more pay. She confided that she was struggling to afford both her mother's medical bills and her own small apartment. I keep thinking Mom was wrong about me, Lily said as they sat on a bench near their loved ones' graves. Maybe I'm not capable of more. Maybe this is all I'll ever be. Michael's heart ached for her. Elena had always been passionate about mentoring young women, helping them see their own potential. Your mother wasn't wrong, he said firmly. Sometimes we just need someone to believe in us until we can believe in ourselves. Easy for you to say, Lily replied, not unkindly. You're obviously successful. You've probably never had to choose between paying rent and buying groceries. Michael was quiet for a long moment, remembering his own childhood of government assistance and second-hand clothes. I grew up in a studio apartment with my grandmother. We ate rice and beans for dinner most nights. I got my first job washing dishes when I was 14, lying about my age because we needed the money. Lily looked at him with surprise. She'd assumed his wealth was inherited, the easy kind that came with private schools and family connections. How did you? She began. Hard work, some luck, and people who believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself, Michael said. My grandmother cleaned office buildings at night. She'd take me with her sometimes, and I'd do homework in empty conference rooms. She always said the view from the top floors was beautiful, but the climb was what made you strong enough to appreciate it. As they talked, Michael learned that Lily had once dreamed of opening her own restaurant. She'd even started taking business classes at the community college before her mother got sick and the medical bills consumed everything. The dream had been carefully folded away, like a dress saved for a special occasion that never came. Have you ever faced something like this? Let us know in the comments. Michael realized he was at a crossroads. He could continue his solitary grief, or he could honor Elena's memory by helping someone who reminded him of everything she'd valued. Kindness, determination, and the quiet strength to keep going when life felt impossible. But he also knew that approaching this wrong could make Lily feel like a charity case rather than the capable woman her mother had raised. The next week, Michael did something that would have made Elena proud. Instead of offering charity, he offered opportunity. He approached Lily at the cemetery with a business proposal that had been forming in his mind for days. I want to open a community cafe, he said, his words measured and careful. Somewhere that serves good food at reasonable prices, hires locally, and gives people a place to belong. I need someone to run it, someone who understands both the restaurant business and what it means to work hard for everything you have. Lily stared at him, speechless. Michael, I appreciate the thought, but I can't accept charity. This isn't charity, he interrupted gently. This is business. I've done my research on you, Lily. Your manager at Murphy's says you're the best employee he's ever had. You increased efficiency by 20% in your first month as assistant manager. The customers love you, and you have ideas for improvement that he's too set in his ways to implement. He pulled out a folder he'd been carrying. I'm offering you a partnership. 60-40 split, with you holding the majority stake after 5 years if the business succeeds. You'll have full operational control, a salary that's 3 times what you're making now, and the chance to prove what your mother always knew, that you're capable of extraordinary things. Lily's hands shook as she looked through the business plan he'd prepared. It was detailed, professional, and addressed every concern she might have. The proposed location was in her neighborhood, the menu featured comfort food with healthy options, and the staffing plan prioritized hiring people who needed second chances. Why? She whispered. Why would you do this for someone you barely know? Michael looked toward Elena's headstone, where fresh flowers now sat beside his weekly roses, flowers Lily had quietly started bringing. Because 8 months ago, I thought my life was over. I had all the money in the world but no purpose left. Elena spent her life lifting people up, seeing potential where others saw problems. I think she'd like this cafe idea. I think she'd like you. Tears streamed down Lily's face, but for the first time since her mother's death, they weren't entirely from grief. What would I call it? She asked, her voice barely audible. That's entirely up to you, Michael smiled. You're the majority partner. If you've been enjoying this story, subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming tales. As they sat together planning a future neither had imagined possible, both felt something they'd thought was lost forever: hope. 6 months later, Rosie's Kitchen opened its doors on a crisp spring morning. Lily had named it after her mother, and the cafe embodied everything Rosa Martinez had believed in: hard work, community, and the idea that good food could bring people together regardless of their circumstances. The opening day line stretched around the block, filled with neighbors, former Murphy's Diner customers, and even some of Michael's business associates who'd heard about the venture. Michael stood in the back, watching Lily command her kitchen with the confidence of someone who'd finally found her calling. She'd hired 3 other single mothers, a retired chef looking for part-time work, and a young man fresh out of culinary school who couldn't afford the fancy restaurants but had enormous talent. The menu featured comfort food with fresh twists, her mother's arroz con pollo recipe alongside quinoa salads and locally sourced vegetables. The cafe had become more than a business, it was a gathering place. Local artists displayed their work on the walls, book clubs met in the cozy corner booth, and Lily had started a program where customers could purchase extra meals for community members who couldn't afford them. The Pay It Forward board was always full of hearts drawn by children and thank you notes from neighbors. She would have been so proud, Michael said as he and Lily took a rare quiet moment together during the afternoon lull. They both would have been, Lily replied, watching an elderly man share his newspaper with a young mother while her toddler colored at the next table. You're Elena too. This place has her fingerprints all over it. Michael nodded, feeling a peace he hadn't experienced since his wife's death. Elena's charitable foundation now funded 3 similar community cafes across the city, each run by someone who'd needed not just financial backing but someone to believe in their potential. The grief hadn't disappeared, but it had transformed into something meaningful, a living memorial to the people they'd loved. As the afternoon sun streamed through the cafe windows, illuminating the bustling scene of connection and community, Lily reached across the table and squeezed Michael's hand. Thank you, she said simply. For seeing what Mom saw in me before I could see it myself. Thank you, Michael replied, for helping me understand that healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means honoring their memory by becoming the people they always believed we could be. The cafe continued to hum with conversation and laughter around them, a testament to the truth that sometimes the most unexpected encounters can lead to the most extraordinary transformations. In finding each other in their darkest moments, Michael and Lily had discovered that grief shared is grief diminished, and hope shared is hope multiplied. If you enjoyed this story, please remember to like, leave a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe for more heartwarming tales. Thank you for joining us on this journey of healing, hope, and the beautiful ways strangers can become family when we open our hearts to unexpected possibilities.